Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Tuesday. After maybe the best day of the entire season for the Kansas City Royals, we are with you for just 2 hours so that we may bring you game 3 of the 4-game series between the Royals and the Guardians from Progressive Field in Cleveland. Pre-game coverage from the Royals Baseball Network takes over at 5, leading up to a 5:40 first pitch. So we have got a jam-packed 2 hours of sports talk coming your way here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream, which you can catch on Facebook at our page, WIBW News, and on YouTube, which you can catch on our channel, 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski here with you. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a moment. We are thrilled to be with you and appreciate you spending some of your Tuesday with us here on 580 Sports Talk. Lots to get to today. The aforementioned Red Hot Royals, a doubleheader sweep, a Twins loss, a Red Sox doubleheader loss. Effectively, they lost the resumption of the suspended game, the Danny Jansen game in the morning, and then lost the regularly scheduled game to the Blue Jays last night.
A delayed gratification loss.
Yes, I think you could call it that.
Yeah. For the Royals, anyway.
Yes. I thought that was another Reese McGuire joke, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think there's anything delayed about that. It sounded like he really needed to have it right then and there.
So it was as good a...
You can't ever come back from that.
No.
Like, your life is over.
No.
You are always going to be the guy who had a moment in the mall parking lot.
Not even the mall, the Dollar General.
The Dollar General part. Like, that's who you are forever.
Yeah, that is.
What's the old line? You lay 1,000,000 bricks, no one calls you a bricklayer.
Yeah.
But you do that one time.
One time. Yeah, no, that's Reese McGuire's legacy.
Stop to get a box of snow caps one time.
Anyway, as good a standings day as the Royals have had all season, and we are going to talk plenty about the boys in blue, including a look ahead to tonight's 3rd game of the 4-game series. We've also got plenty of football to talk about, as the Chiefs should have just finalized their 53-man roster. We'll have that more details on that as we get closer to the 4 o'clock hour when we'll talk about it. But 3 o'clock was the deadline where all teams in the NFL had to submit a 53-man roster, the initial 53-man roster. It's important to note because a lot can happen between now and week 1. In fact, if you're on this 53-man roster, there's no guarantee yet that you get paid for week 1. That's not for another week. Mm-hmm. That's next Tuesday, in which your 53-man roster is effectively your week 1 roster. But today is cut down day. You get from 91 active to 53 active and start getting the pieces put together for your regular season roster. Some cuts today by the Chiefs. I don't think any of them have been terribly surprising in case you've missed it. Kadarius Toney, probably the headlining name, but if you've been listening to us or just know anything about anything, you could kind of see that was going down. I'd love to give us the credit for that.
If you have been awake for the last 18 months.
I'd love for that to be one of those things like, hey, listen, we were on top of this story. Nah, man, anyone with eyes, anyone who watched a game last season was on top of that.
The Chiefs also, and we'll get to this plenty in the 4 o'clock hour, the Chiefs also, and Brett Veach also, clearly not content with the roster they've gone through the offseason with. Clearly not content with the training camp roster. Because in the last, now, what would that be? About 17 hours, the Chiefs have made multiple trades.
Yeah.
To go get NFL talent. Not even the type of trade we've seen before. We made the reference last week to trading Parker Enger for Charvarius Ward. That was kind of lame mystery box for maybe not really lame mystery box. And it worked. It worked. Charvarius Ward, really good NFL player. The Chiefs went out and they moved draft picks to get actual NFL, not prospects, actual league guys in the last 17 hours, which is a pretty bold move. Even if you're saying, well, they gave up a conditional 7th and a 6th, that's not that big. On cutdown day, that's actually quite huge to make moves like that.
Yeah. 2 moves by the Chiefs in the last 24 hours. They've added an edge rusher. They've added a 4th tight end. which we were a little surprised that they were even thinking about keeping 4, and now it seems a certainty that they will keep 4 tight ends on the roster. We will fill you all in as we get, again, closer to actually seeing it on paper, seeing that final 53-man, or the initial, 53-man roster. We'll also talk some college football today. Yesterday, we didn't get a chance to get around to it because we were really tight for time, but yesterday was media availability for both Lance Leipold and Chris Klieman. We've got some choice cuts from both of them as they prepare to open their seasons. KU Thursday night at Children's Mercy Park against Lindenwood, and K-State on Saturday night at Bill Snyder Family Stadium against the Skyhawks of Tennessee Martin.
We are under 52 hours from KU kickoff. They've come out with the schedule, the Hawk Walk, and when you can see the players and when they arrive and when kickoff. Like, they've released all that. It's here. I feel like I'm not prepared. I feel like I've been more prepared for week 1 for KU in recent years because they've played on Friday, and I've spent 6 weeks leading up to the game complaining about college football on Friday nights. This year, it kind of snuck up, and Washburn plays the same day. That's probably why it's, that's taken some of my attention. But I'm fired up, man. This is going to be such a fun year. KU might hang 100 on Lindenwood. Really might. Like, we might be talking Georgia Tech versus Cumberland numbers here.
Yes. K-State's FCS opponent, UT Martin, has won their last 3 conference championships. It's not a particularly good conference, but a conference championship is a conference championship.
Wins are wins.
And wins are wins. They were a top 25 team in FCS last season. Lindenwood is not that. Lindenwood is decidedly not that.
And in a modicum of fairness to the Lindenwood Lions, they were Division II like 3 years ago. It's hard to get to a Division I level kind of schedule that quickly. That being said, they also lost games last year, like falling 52-10 at home to Austin P.
Oof.
They lost by 23 points to a bad Tennessee State team, and they lost by 2 touchdowns to a really bad Charleston Southern team. Like, that's who KU is playing.
Could get ugly, certainly at Children's Mercy Park on Thursday night. So we'll hear from a little bit from both head coaches. We'll do a mic'd up segment later on this hour. Plus, even though it's only 2 hours, there's all the stuff you've come to know and love from a 580 Sports Talk Tuesday show, including some Random Question Tuesday, a round of What Is Wrong With You, and Jayhawk Weekly with our friend Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. He'll join us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline at 4:35. He can get us even more ready for that season opener for the Jayhawks on the gridiron. Michael Swain joining us at 4:35. And, of course, you are invited and encouraged to be a part of 580 Sports Talk this afternoon. The Top City Metal Supply text line is 785-272-9429. That is, again, 785-272-9429. Also, if you're watching us live on either YouTube or Facebook, you can interact with us. You can comment on the Facebook stream. WIBW News is the Facebook page. If you've always got Facebook open at work, why not just pop our video open and watch the show on there? Or you can watch us on YouTube. You can do that on your work computer. You can do that on your phone, your tablet, your smart TV. Find us on 580 Sports Talk. That's our YouTube channel. You can watch the show, and there's a live chat feature where you can interact with fellow listeners and, of course, your hosts as well. So we encourage you to be involved in the show today because we got a lot to get to. So let's jump into the Royals, who beat the Guardians 9-4 in the second game of the doubleheader last night.
Can I share one piece of fun breaking news real quick?
Oh, sure. Go for it.
It was not a I thought it should have been a certainty. It was not until right now. But Corey Ballantyne made the 53 in Green Bay.
Hey,
to
all right.
peak his own, the Shawnee Heights Thunderbird, Washburn Ichabod. He did make the roster in Green Bay. That rules.
Yeah, we do love
that's awesome.
We do love the local stories, and that's great to get confirmation that Corey Ballantyne will continue his NFL career in Green Bay, where he had some success and quite a bit of playing time. Yeah, quite a bit of playing time last season. Congrats to Corey, the former Shawnee Heights Thunderbird, and Washburn Ichabod. All right, the Royals winners last night, 9-4. Salvador Perez, 2 home runs, including a grand slam that busted the game open. And I'm going to say it. Guys, I did not think I was going to say this in March. And there will be some of you who think I am too hasty in saying it now. There are going to be some of you who are worried about jinxes and the like. And some of you who are going to be really mad at me if what I say right now doesn't end up happening. You're going to storm the studios, the Kansas Drive to Zero studio, like it's the Bastille, because you're going to be mad at me for saying
nice.
I'm going to say it out loud. Today, August 27th, 2024, the Kansas City Royals are going to the playoffs. It's happening. Folks, they have a 6.5 game cushion over the Boston Red Sox with 30 games left. The Red Sox are going nowhere. They are spinning their wheels. They are going no place fast. The lead for a playoff spot is 6.5 with 30 games to go. 500 ball the rest of the way would mean that the Red Sox would have to play 7 games over 500 in their final 32 contests because they are 2 games behind I believe it is 2 games behind the Royals pace, and it is. No, just one game behind the Royals pace. So 31 games, they'd have to play 6 games over 500, 7 games over 500 to make the postseason. The magic number is 21 for Boston to be 27 for them to be eliminated from the wild card. So any number of Twins wins and Red Sox losses would eliminate Boston. And again, Kansas City now a 1.5 games clear of the Twins for second place and the second wild card, and just 1 game behind Cleveland. 2 weeks ago, when we woke up 2 weeks ago, August 13th, the Royals, according to Fangraphs, had a 46% chance to go to the playoffs and just a 5.9% chance to win the division. This morning, those numbers are 89.5% to make the playoffs, 29.7% to win the Central. So put a pin in that doubleheader sweep yesterday on a day that did not set up perfectly for the Royals, a day when the bullpen had to cover more than half of the 54 outs necessary to win those games. 28 outs from the bullpen yesterday.
And had to do it because your best starting pitcher, your ace, got hurt in the 5th inning.
And wasn't real good in the 4 innings before that. A day when the Royals, the comeback kings of Major League Baseball this year, trailed early in both games. A day when Salvador Perez added to his legend. A day where a team that it felt like couldn't buy a hit with runners in scoring position got some big hits from the likes of MJ Melendez and Garrett Hampson. Put a pin in yesterday. Put a pin in that grand slam from Salvador Perez. That's when I felt it. Maybe it's when you felt it too. But this is happening. The Royals are going to play October baseball. And now I don't want to talk about the Red Sox. I don't want to think about the Red Sox. They're in the rearview mirror. And I know what they say. Objects in the rearview mirror are always closer than they appear. I don't believe that to be true about the fading Red Sox. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. Take the rearview mirror out of the car. You're not allowed to do that, actually. Don't actually take the rearview mirror out of your actual vehicle. That's against the law. But we're looking forward. We're looking through the windshield because you know what Cleveland's seeing in their rearview mirror right now? That's a hell of a lot closer than it appears. The Kansas City Royals. Not only are the Royals going to the playoffs, we are now focused on winning the Central. I think we got to start talking about a pennant race here. Not, well, maybe we can get the 6th seed. The 6th seed, a thing that, honest to God, I'm still a little weirded out about as a baseball purist, the fact that 6 teams per league make the playoffs. But look, the rules are the rules, and you never apologize for making the postseason. But never mind that. That's happening. I'm saying it right here and now. The Kansas City Royals are going to play in October. Now let's go get the Central, huh? Because if the Royals get the next 2 games in this series, they'll leave Cleveland in first place. And the Guardians are only going to have their stud closer available for one of the final 2 games anyway. Clase's worked 3 of the last 3 days. He worked the 9th with the Guardians down by 5 last night, which I don't understand. So you don't have to worry about the big bad wolf in the 9th inning in the Cleveland bullpen for these next 2 games. Michael Wacha's got the ball tonight. Who's been better than Michael Wacha in the Royals rotation for the last 3-4 weeks? Why not win this series? Why not sweep this series? Why not win the Central? Cleveland's a mess. They haven't hit since the break. Their starting pitching is starting to break down. Their bullpen showing signs, finally, of the wear and tear that their first-year manager, Stephen Vogt, has been putting on them throughout the year. That is a team going the wrong direction. The Royals are a team going the right direction. They're in the fast lane. Start thinking division, Royals fans, because October baseball, it's happening.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from how well the Royals are playing themselves right now, because they are the main reason why they have put themselves in a position to win the division. I am with you. I have felt like the Royals are almost certainly going to make the playoffs for probably about 10 days now. They're in. I am not entertaining discussion about them not getting in. This is not the 1969 Chicago Cubs. They are going to make it in. They're not going to go 8-17 in their final 25 games. My mother is still to this day very sad about the 1969 Chicago Cubs. That's beside the point, though. The Royals are not going to be that team. They are too good to end up in that kind of position. They're going to make it to the postseason. The Guardians have fallen back to, I feel sort of vindicated because I think the Guardians and the Twins have made it very clear that they're Dennis Green, or that we're Dennis Green. They are who we thought they were. Mm-hmm. The Twins, how many times in the last 3 seasons have the Twins had a golden opportunity to grab the bull by the horns and make a move? And I don't mean like a personnel move. I mean like, hey, we've got Correa. We've got these other, decent pitchers. We've got big hitters. We are going to show that the investments our team made are paying off, and we are going to ascend to the top. 3 years running, I believe, maybe 4, they've had that opportunity, and they just can't do it. Something is wrong. I don't know if it's Baldelli. I don't know if it's the roster. They cannot do it. They're just there. Like they're a non-player character. They're an NPC. They're just kind of there. At this point, you're not really worried about them unless they go nuclear hot. Cleveland, they have certainly come back to where we thought they would be. Even if their expected win-loss based on the run differential, we talk about the Pythag all the time, it's pretty much accurate. They're only 1 win above their projected win-loss total right now. But when you consider, they have been under 500 in the last 30 games. The Twins and the Royals are both multiple games over in the last 30. The Guardians are 2 games under. They're 14-16. 4 games under in their last 20. 4 games under in their last 10 as well. Do you know what their record in extra innings is this year?
Cleveland?
Yeah.
I do not know.
They are 8-3. Over time, over a long period of time, the expectation in terms of probability is you're going to be right around 500 in extra innings games. Do you know what their record is in 1-run games? 23-16. That's the 4th best record in all of baseball.
It's nice to have the best closer in the American League. That's a huge advantage.
They've got an elite closer, but they have flimsy starting pitching, a flimsy bullpen otherwise. Apologies to your guy, Eli Morgan. And they don't have a murderer's row of an offense. Again, over a long period of time, you're going to be closer to 500 than you are to 600 or 700 in terms of your winning percentage. So even with those being way above expectation, they are plummeting back down to earth from the perch where they were for most of this season. I said it the other day. I don't think the Royals are going to make it all the way to number 1 seed in the American League, but right now, there's no reason to expect them to get a wild card. You should be expecting them to win this division because the Twins refuse to make a move. The Royals are playing really good baseball despite their deficiencies. I think that's something that needs to be mentioned. I was thinking about this the other day. Might have been Saturday, Sunday. I don't remember what day it was. Maybe it was even Friday last week after the show. Because we have talked about the bullpen has had struggles, obviously, has been inconsistent for sure. We have talked about how there have been numerous spots in the lineup that haven't been consistently productive over the course of the year. Legitimate concerns, legitimate things that you go, wow, I wish that was better. And still, the Royals are 16 games over 500 with just over 1 month to go. That's how good this team has been. So with how well they're playing, with Minnesota just sitting there, not doing anything, they're like Jerry Falwell Jr. They're just sitting there watching right now. And Cleveland is playing absolutely terribly relative to the standard they had set for themselves. I mean, this should be the Royals division at this point.
Start thinking division championship if you're the Royals. If you're going to scoreboard watch Cleveland and Minnesota. Forget Boston. They're done. They're cooked. The Royals are going to October. The question now is, when are they playing? Are they going to be a wild card? Are they going to be in one of those best-of-3 series? Can they run down Baltimore and at least get those 3 at home if they're going to have to be a wild card? Or can they win this damn division? Can they get the number 2 seed and get the automatic berth in the division series? That's within reach for this team, which is, again, holding the best record in the American League since the All-Star break. And they have a lot of guys to thank for it. And that's kind of the cool thing about this stretch is you had a bunch of different guys playing the hero. Like in the first game yesterday, it was MJ Melendez with a big 3-run homer to put the Royals up and a great catch to save a couple of runs. And then last night it was Salvador Perez. I was shocked to learn Sal had never driven in 6 or more runs in a game before. For that to be a new career high for him was kind of surprising. But I also believe that this proves the power of 2 things. Number 1 is karma, and number 2 is wiffle ball. Because since Salvador Perez played a backyard game of wiffle ball with some kids in Kansas City, Kansas, who he just happened to be in the neighborhood and driving by and saw a game and thought he might get some swings in. Ever since then, 3 home runs in 5 games. I'm telling you, man, wiffle ball and karma, they are real and they are powerful. Believe in this team. Believe that October baseball is happening. Believe that they can get a seed and they can put themselves in a situation where October baseball at Kauffman Stadium is happening. Because if you go on the road, if you're the 5 seed or the 6 seed, you got to go on the road and you don't win in the wild card round and you don't get a home game. Like, it would still be a tremendous accomplishment, but it would feel like a drag.
It's a letdown.
Nah, man. You remember those crowds in 2014 and 2015 at the K for those Royals teams? I need playoff baseball back at Kauffman Stadium. And folks, I think we can get it. I think it's right
happening.
there.
They're getting it.
They are. Let's all go all in then, huh? We're all in now.
They're doing it.
Let's say it out loud. Let's say it with our chest. The Royals are going to the postseason. The Royals, 56-106 last year. They are going to the American League playoffs. Let's go run down Cleveland. Let's go win the damn Central. That's what I say. That's my pep talk. If I were in the clubhouse, that would be my pep talk. I'm not much for pep talks, but hey, if it worked for you, good. I would fire you up on the other side of the dial. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. We got a lot more to come on today's show. We're going to talk Chiefs. We're going to talk KU, K-State football, hear from their head coaches. We're going to play a little random question Tuesday when we come back. That's coming up from the Kansas Drive to Zero studios. We get things started here on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get into Random Question Tuesday, a reminder that Prairie Band Sportsbook's free NFL Survivor Pool is firing up, and it's your chance to win up to $25,000. All you got to do is pick a winner each week. You know how Survivor Pools work. I guess if you don't, here's how they work. You pick a winner each week. Once you've picked that team, you can't pick them again. You win the Survivor Pool, which is free to enter. You win $5,000. If you run the table all the way through the regular season and into the playoffs, you go 20-0, you win up to $25,000. So check out Prairie Band Sportsbook's free NFL Survivor Pool. Again, free to enter. prairieband.chalklinegames.com/games/survivor. prairieband.chalklinegames.com, like the foul line at a baseball stadium. chalklinegames.com/games/survivor. All right, Random Question Tuesday time. I always get to ask first. Brendan, why don't you ask your question first today?
All right. It's, I don't know how to phrase this completely as a question, but I've been thinking about this. All right. I want you to create. How would you create your ultimate stadium experience? I'm going to give you, let's see, you have to pick your stadium anthem, like your song, your Gary Glitter Rock and Roll Part 2.
That is the correct answer.
Your stadium song, your featured meal, like your featured concession, and like start time. Like what is the environment? Are we talking like Death Valley at night, noon at Arrowhead? So your environment, your concession, and your stadium anthem.
Those are three very interesting elements, and I kind of want to like borrow from all of them.
Good enough that even if your team sucked, you're going to get amped for the game.
They don't play Rock and Roll Part 2 in stadiums anymore. If you don't know why, Google Gary Glitter and you'll figure it out pretty fast. Like Google autofill will answer that question for you before you even get to his Wikipedia page. So barring that, man, like Sandstorm really does set it off still. It really does. I'm kind of over like Zombie Nation. I'm over Seven Nation Army. I'm over those. So go Sandstorm. We'll go like a night college football game, like for the environment, like a 7:00 kick, national TV.
Yeah.
And for my concession item, the best concession item I think I've ever had at a sporting event was an Italian beef sandwich at a Bears game at Soldier Field back in 2007.
Oh, God. That's so good. I bet it was Al's beef, too.
Something regional. Like, it would depend on where I was, but, like, if something regional would be, like, if I'm going, like, at a Chiefs game, get me some, like, Gates barbecue or something like that. I don't know what they have in the stadium. I know at the K they used to have Gates.
Yeah.
I might have Joe's now, a Joe's concession stand. But, something, the regional fare, I guess. That's a bit of a cop-out, but that's what I've got.
I would also go regional, fried cheese curds at Lambeau Field. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Untouchable. My stadium anthem, I'm going with Machine Head by Bush. Great third down song. Awesome third down song.
Very like third period, 1-goal game, 6 minutes to go, face off in the offensive zone.
Yes. Oh, phenomenal. And yeah, I mean, nighttime, like SEC football. That's the ultimate environment. Or like 8:00 big Monday Allen Fieldhouse. Like that is the peak of what a college sporting event should be.
So for my random question today, Clayton in the YouTube live chat says the band Gary Glitter song is the correct. It is.
It is.
It's the best stadium song of all time. And we need that dude to kick the bucket in prison so that we don't have to feel bad about him ending up with the royalties anytime that song gets played.
Like, I'm not cheering for anyone to die.
No,
here,
I think it's okay when it's Gary Glitter.
He's a very bad person, and that song is so good.
Yeah, we need that song back. Or we need like an extremely faithful cover version.
Yes.
Done by somebody. Yes. Pulled pork nachos and Arrowhead on Monday night. So that's Clayton's setup.
Laramie's answer for stadium song in the YouTube chat is When Worlds Collide by Power Man 5000.
Man.
Hell yes. That rules.
That takes me back to high school.
That
right
is
there.
awesome. Hell yes.
Man. I was thinking,
Power Man 5000.
I was thinking about Power Man 5000 the other day because I was thinking about the song Turn Me On, Mr. Dead Man. I'm like, oh, that's Power Man 5000. It's not. It's the Union Underground.
Oh, man, the Union Underground, also awesome.
This has been talking new metal.
Talking new metal.
Tyler in the YouTube live chat says the jump around experience at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's up. There's so many college football atmospheres I want to experience. If there's one at the top of my list, one college football game though, it'd still be Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night.
Yeah, that one's hard to beat. I've been to Camp Randall for a night rivalry. I was there for the Paul Bunyan and Zax game in 2016.
Oh, man.
Jump around is as cool as it looks. I promise you, it is that fun.
All right, for my random question today, real quick, what's the coolest jersey number? I've been thinking about jersey numbers. I'll get to it before the end of the hour. A story about a jersey number, but what's the coolest jersey number? It may depend on the position. So I'll just say what's the coolest jersey number / position combo?
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. All right, so if we're just talking in general, it's a very cliche answer, but it's probably 7. Like a point guard that wears 7. That's just cool. That's just such a sick look.
Shout out to Chauncey Billups.
I guess in college 1 would be the equivalent because this is the first year where you can wear a number bigger than 5.
Yeah.
So I'd go 7. Bobby Witt Jr. looks sick. That's a good number on him. If we're talking about number and position combo, it's any number 54 through 56 for an inside linebacker.
Great answer.
Yeah. Neck roll also requested.
That is a superb answer.
Yeah.
I go any number in I'll say 32 for a starting pitcher is a cool one. Sandy Koufax made it really cool. Or for any cool football player, number 21.
21's a good number.
Yeah, 21 defensive back, running back.
Yeah.
Even wide Desmond Howard.
Yeah.
It can work with a college wide receiver, not with a pro wide receiver, but a college wide receiver.
No, that's gross.
We'll take a break here at 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we'll get mic'd up with Lance Leipold and with Chris Klieman. Talk a little college football on the other side from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. 343 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer.
Speaking of the Rolling Stones, can you hear me knocking here? Which, great riff, by the way.
Guitar Hero 2, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are correct. The best guitar.
Correct.
Yes.
It's also the only one I had, so I'm a little biased. But
That's such a good game.
I used to hit it on Through Fire and Flames, I think is what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fire Flame. I don't even remember the band who
Dragon
does it.
Force.
There you go.
They used to be the ish.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the Stones, though, for Stadium Song from Random Question Tuesday from the 785 on the Top City Metal Supply text line, Start Me Up, Rolling Stones.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
a good one. That's classic. A couple other quick texts in here for your coolest number question, Dan, from the 785. Jim Otto wearing 00.
As a center, yes.
I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm so glad players can wear 0 now. It's cool. I actually don't. I don't like 0. However, a center wearing 00 is very cool.
Yes.
I will give Jim Otto that.
Didn't Teddy Bridgewater try to wear 000 when his final season with
he wore
the Lions?
50.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, you're right. He wore a huge number because he couldn't wear 00.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it had something to do with the zeros.
Another one here from the 785, Royals related, regarding demanding playoff baseball in Kansas City. Preach, fellas. Does it make you nervous that we can't seem to beat Minnesota? I'm like, what the heck? I love it. I believe is Q in contention for manager of the year. I'm sure we will get to that more in the month of September, but the answer for contention without question.
Yeah.
And if you were going to ask me, should he be leading? I would also tell you yes. I think he should be the leader in the clubhouse or manager of the year. And I think regardless of where they finish, JJ Piccolo should be your executive of the year.
Agree
because
100%.
we have another example of trying to get good baseball players and being willing to use payroll to get them is smart, and it is good. The Rangers did it the last 2 years. You know what that got them? The first World Series in franchise history.
Yes, it did.
The Royals, top 5 in free agency dollars spent this offseason. You know what it got them? An all-star in Seth Lugo and in contention to win the American League Central 1 year after winning 56 games a season ago. They should both be leading in those categories.
Absolutely. Let's get into Mic'd Up. We've got some cuts from Lance Leipold and Chris Klieman, both of whom spoke to the media yesterday. It is opening week for the Wildcats and for the Jayhawks. We'll start with Lance Leipold. Had a good answer, I thought, to this question. Asked about just what's different now, where when he took over, we're 4 years in now to the Lance Leipold experience. When he took over, the goal was, let's be competitive in the fourth quarter. And that was against everybody they played, even a team like an FCS team, like they're playing Thursday night against Lindenwood. Things are different now. Lance Leipold expounds.
You watch some of these games and over the weekend, there weren't a lot of them, but there's some strange stuff that have happened in them all. And there's things about discipline and composure and not beating yourself and all those things that you got to make sure. But yeah, it's a different mindset because of so many guys went through that game that we had to fight through to get. And, even as we've had scouts come through and do things and they talk about how our team looks different. We look different. We move different. We play differently. And that's what a process should be about. And we have to make sure we continue in that realm of no matter who we're playing, what level they come from, where it's at, it's still going to be about us and execution and being fluid and being sharp and playing discipline and doing all those things if we're going to have chance at all. And it starts Thursday night.
One of the things that I think sets both Kansas and Kansas State up to be successful in games against FCS opponents is that you have coaches with a pedigree in levels below FBS. Obviously, Chris Klieman's FCS pedigree is unimpeachable, coaching North Dakota State to multiple national championships. Lance Leipold, of course, winning multiple national championships at Division III Wisconsin Whitewater. They get that just because it's not FBS doesn't mean it can't be good football. Doesn't mean it can't be good football players. Doesn't mean they won't be competitive and come out with their hair on fire for 60 minutes. So it would stun me if it ever happened that a Lance Leipold or Chris Klieman team came out flat-footed against an FCS team. And to this point, it hasn't happened.
Yeah, I have so much. I'm so glad that KU and K-State run their programs the way they run, because there are a lot of similarities. There's plenty of differences too, but many similarities in terms of how they went out and got their coaches and staffs. This dude is coaching at a lower level than we play at, but you know what he does? He wins, and he's good at it, and he knows how to win over and over. Let's get guys like that. They brought him in. They are not going to take those kind of programs for granted, and they're willing to go look at those teams and say good football players can come from anywhere. Maybe, arguably, the second best player of the Lance Leipold era at KU is about to start for the San Francisco 49ers. Offensive lineman Dominic Cooney, D2 transfer. He was at Central Missouri. 2 years at KU, didn't allow a sack. I would argue he's been the second best KU player, maybe third after Kobe and Devin Neal. Those are the only two I would for sure put ahead of him. Like, the respect is great, and it also tells you they're not going to mess around. They're going to go and play Lindenwood like Lindenwood is a Big 12 team. And that's the way you should do it. And that's the kind of thing that builds winning culture, because you want the culture to be good, not just the record. They go hand in hand.
And to that point, here's Lance Leipold asked about, are you going to hold anything back? Are you going to keep anything in reserve? Are you going to be a little vanilla against Lindenwood?
Yeah, we're not planning on holding anything back. We're going to play to win the football game. We're game planning on both sides to win the football game. I don't think we're in a program yet that we can, somebody talked about a SEC school that was practicing, spent the 2 weeks before practicing for a big non-conference game, and then was going to then just the week of trying to get the extra week. I don't think same thing, especially with our new staff additions and things like that. Jalen getting back in the groove. We want to make sure that we come out and start this thing the right way.
Lindenwood, the opponent, Thursday night. That is a 7:00 kick at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas for the Jayhawks. What about the Wildcats? They open against UT Martin at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturday night. Chris Klieman also spoke yesterday, was asked, I believe, by our good friend Tim Fitzgerald, who we'll talk to tomorrow on the program, what he expects to be better this season. What he expects K-State to be better at this season. This was part of his answer.
Hopefully we can be more explosive on offense. That would be one thing that we talk about and kind of tease the offensive staff of, you got to call another couple plays because we got pushed out at the 5 or got tackled from behind at the 6 or didn't get it in. We've had the ability with a number of skill kids to hit some home runs. And now we can't just take home run shots. We've got to be able to get the ball in space to some of these guys quickly and let them make some plays and maybe try to hit a home run.
He also mentioned stopping explosive plays being something he hopes that the defense will be better at this year, but more explosive on offense. And of course, a lot of that optimism comes with having an explosive athlete at quarterback like Avery Johnson. I loved this answer from Klieman when asked about what he's telling his sophomore quarterback as he approaches the first home start of his Wildcat career.
If you know Avery, I'm not worried about how I manage things. Cut the kid loose, let him go play. The kid's really good. And so I'm not managing anything. I'm going to encourage him, tell him I love him, tell him how much I believe in him, and go play. Go do what you do. You've been waiting for this opportunity, and he'll make plays within himself. But, man, I'm as excited as you guys are.
You can hear every time Chris Klieman talks about Avery Johnson how excited he is to cut Avery loose for 13 or more Kansas State Wildcat games this year. You can hear the excitement in his voice.
I was listening to a podcast last night. Andy Staples was the guest, to national college football writer and podcaster for On3. And he went out of his way to stop a conversation about other teams, about Ohio State, because they were talking about Will Howard. He went out of his way to say, I am so excited to watch Avery Johnson play. Said he doesn't think there has been a quarterback as fast as him in college football since Kyler Murray. That is really high praise for his speed. And was talking all about how he even said, admittedly, I don't know if he is going to be able to throw at an elite level right away this year, but I know he is going to be as fun as anybody. Stopped a conversation about Ohio State and Michigan to say, I want to talk about Avery Johnson. People are going to take notice of him right away.
Absolutely. I think it was Pro Football Focus who ranked him the 10th best starting quarterback in the Big 12.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Every list that doesn't have Avery Johnson in the top 5 is going to look really bad in retrospect.
Even if you doubt the arm, which I think people have made way too big of a deal of, to be completely honest with you, he should still be in the top half of the league. He's too good of an athlete to not put up there. I think he's smart too. I think he's a smart kid who's going to make the right decisions.
And he's going to get better every game he plays, which is a really exciting part. We'll take one final break this hour. When we come back, a quick note involving a former Kansas Jayhawk basketball great taking a bit of heat in an unfair way online. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up the 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk about the Chiefs' 53-man roster. The initial 53 should be just about ready to be made public. We'll also hear from Michael Swain of Fog.net, talk KU Athletics on Jayhawk Weekly. Speaking of the Jayhawks, you see Christian Brown's taking kind of a beating online. So Christian Brown plays for the Denver Nuggets and wears the number 0. That's a number that Russell Westbrook has also worn quite frequently in his NBA career. Russell Westbrook, you may not be aware, is a Denver Nugget. He has been signed by the team for this coming season. And there was a report out that Westbrook tried to get the number 0 from Christian Brown, and Brown told him no. So instead, Westbrook got the number 4 from another young player, Hunter Tyson, and he'll wear number 4 for the Nuggets. So because the internet is what it is, and Twitter is what it is, and NBA stan culture is what it is, there are a lot of Russell Westbrook fans out there who are being really hard on Christian Brown for not coming up off his number. Like he's not an NBA champion.
Yeah, here's all you need to say. Hey, Russ, where's your ring?
Right.
Oh, you don't have one? Oh, you don't have one? Oh, okay.
Well,
enjoy 4. Enjoy wearing 19, Russ.
Well, it turns out some of the reporting was erroneous, and Russell Westbrook took to Instagram to stand up for his new teammate, saying, "Let's please leave our young star alone. CB and I never discussed him passing along the number 0. I didn't inquire about or request the number 0 because I chose to mark this new change with a new number. CB and I are locked in and ready to get things rocking in the Mile High City."
I bet those two would either be best friends or could not be in the same room together.
I am so fascinated by what Russell Westbrook looks like in Denver and Christian Brown as a starter in the NBA. It'd be interesting to track that this year. Hour number 2 coming up next on 580 Sports Talk.
wagon delivery farther southeast and southwest of Topeka, in and around Allen, Miller, Americus, and Pomona. And CCO's Manhattan Tank Wagon is delivering to areas in and around Alta Vista, Dwight, White City, and Council Grove. With CCO, you'll partner with a small family-owned business built on quality, knowledge, integrity, and service. Switch to CCO, your friend in the fuel business since 1960. Call to find out more or visit capitalcityoil.com.
Power of CCO.
Farms, fleets, and truck lines run better with CCO.
The power to go, the power to grow, the power of CCO.
Alpha Media is proud to partner with Kansas Drive to Zero Coalition and encourage you to join Kansas fans with a plan. Always have the designated driver or other silver ride to and from your destination.
Giving a chance for widely scattered showers and a few thunderstorms in our forecast through at least the early half of tonight with this boundary in place. Still a chance of a handful of strong to isolated severe storms. The main threats will be damaging winds and larger hail. Cloudy as the night goes on, or low 70s. Becoming mostly sunny through Wednesday, we're going to heat up to a high of 95. Into the low to mid 90s on Thursday with more chances for showers with thunderstorms by the afternoon and evening. I'm meteorologist Jeff Renee Ramon from the Capital Federal Weather Center.
This is the voice of Kansas, WIBW Topeka.
Let's get it! Final hour of this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk on a sweltering Tuesday in the capital city. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis with you for one more hour. Typically, we'd be with you until 6, but today we'll give way to the Royals Baseball Network at the top of the 5 o'clock hour ahead of Game 3 out of 4. The Royals series in Cleveland. The Royals have already guaranteed themselves at least a split of this critical 4-game road series against the best home team in baseball, the team with the best home record in all of baseball, the Cleveland Guardians. After sweeping a doubleheader yesterday, tonight they send Michael Wacha to the mound, who of late has been their best starting pitcher. He will be opposed by Cleveland right-hander Gavin Williams, who has struggled in 3 of his last 4 outings and carries an ERA over 5. It's actually Lorenzen tonight. My mistake, guys. It's Wacha tomorrow. It's Lorenzen tonight.
Wow, unacceptable.
Yeah,
embarrassing and churlish.
Yeah, that's a terrible job by me. I got so excited.
Boo.
Yeah, boo everybody, boo me. It's Wacha tomorrow against Tanner Bybee, the best pitching matchup of the series by far.
You need to Wacha that one back. Am I right?
Yeah, Bybee's the Cleveland's best guy. That game will start tomorrow at 12:10, so we'll be on after Royals baseball tomorrow. So they will have finished the series by the time we talk to you next. Again, pregame coverage, 5 o'clock, first pitch, 5:40. Michael Lorenzen for the Royals. I just had him transposed. Thought it was Lorenzen tomorrow, Wacha tonight. I had it backwards. My bad, guys.
Well, you wouldn't have been wrong if the trade deadline never happened, right? Like there wasn't another Michael on the team. Or a Michael pitcher, excuse me.
I would love to tell you that the reason I got the two confused is because they're both named Michael, but no, it wasn't that. I appreciate you giving me an out, but I have to be honest with the people. I just had it wrong.
It's okay.
It had nothing to do with them being named Michael.
I told Brendan yesterday I had to re-record my sports because I said Michael Massey was on the bump.
Hey, you know what? They got too many Michaels.
They do have a lot of Michaels.
Yes, that's a lot of Michaels. 3 is a lot of Michaels. One of them needs to go by Mike. Actually, I don't think that works. Well, no, it works best for Lorenzen. Like Mike Wacha doesn't sound real good.
No, that sounds bad.
Mike Massey doesn't really work. I
think it works the most.
Michael Massey is kind of mellifluous. I like the way that sounds. I like the way it flows. Michael Massey. Mike Lorenzen, though. That's the one.
I grew up with a Mike Lorenzen.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Good dude. Good baseball player. Yeah. Great guy.
Is it the same one?
No, he is not in Major League Baseball.
Right.
I don't know what Mike's up to these days.
Just double checking. Anyway, still to come this hour, we got 2 new stories on what is wrong with you and Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We're going to preview a football game with Michael Swain as the Jayhawks take on Lindenwood on Thursday night at Children's Mercy Park. I'll be there. I'm heading out to Children's Mercy Park for that one. I have been to Children's Mercy Park for a soccer game. I went to a Sporting KC playoff game about 5 years ago, I think it was. It's the only time I've ever been to the venue. I've been to Legends plenty of times. But I think being there for a football game will be quite an experience.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear it because that's a stadium that holds noise. I'll be interested what the student turnout is, what the general admission turnout is, how full that place is. Again, I don't expect the game to be real competitive past halftime. So, like, I don't know if the second half is going to be played in front of a lot of people, but I would expect that place to kind of be bouncing for kickoff with as much excitement as there is for this Jayhawk football season. We'll get Michael's perspective.
Do we know what the capacity is for football?
Not for football, to my knowledge.
Because for soccer, it's just over 18. It's 18.4 for soccer, 25K for concerts.
Okay, so you Googled the exact same thing that I did.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't really expound on that. So I would imagine, yeah, it'd be right around. I mean, they might try and sell. They've squeezed some. They squeezed up to 21,000 in there for soccer because they've got the standing room only areas, the blue hell, the fan supporter section.
Yeah,
you can squeeze a few more in there, but I would think if they get 18 to 20 in the building for that game and sell it out for kickoff, they feel pretty good about that.
Okay.
I swear, I could be wrong. I shouldn't swear like that. I think at one point Michael Swain had numbers. I feel like when they announced it, he might have digged into it a little bit. I could be wrong.
He may have. We'll ask him. Okay. So let's see. All right, never mind. I have two pieces of information here. They're going to have 3,500 student tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that's on par with student capacity at the booth. And I thought, oh, well, let's go look at the size of the booth. But I don't have the student number of tickets for David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. So my math is incomplete. I tried. I tried to do algebra. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Never a good idea.
Appreciate you tuning in here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. A hello to our video viewers and a wave on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. You can also watch us on Facebook, WIBW News. Interact with the program in two different ways. First, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, use the live chat feature. Leave a comment or interact with other listeners in the YouTube live chat. You can interact with us as well. You can also text the program. The Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. This is where we would be talking about an initial 53-man roster for the Kansas City Chiefs. If we had one.
Yeah, what's up with them? They're like one of the only teams to not put one out right now.
You have never covered a regular season Chiefs team before, Spencer, because you jumped in divisional round last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you only know covering the Chiefs for camp practices when they're often late to show up to speak. And then when the NFL is running their press conferences during the postseason, so everything is a little bit more regimented. This is just what they do. They're just always late.
This is definitely par for the course. Most other teams have started at least releasing their initial 53-man rosters. We do know of some cuts for the Chiefs. We also know, this is breaking news for me and Rappaport, the NFL owners have approved a measure to allow part ownership of clubs by private equity firms of up to 10% of club ownership.
That's
bad.
Money.
That's bad. I'm just saying it right now. That's bad.
Yeah.
Anytime private equity gets involved, it never goes well for anyone.
It maxes
except for the private equity vultures. It goes great for them.
Yeah, it maxes out at 10%. That is what the initial rule is. If you're going to have PE investment, it's got to be more than 3%, no more than 10% of the total value. I think many teams will resist that because rich people don't like to let other rich people into the club generally, especially when we're talking about...
This is true. That's a super exclusive club, NFL ownership.
The counterpoint to that is the teams the owners whose wealth is their team. Jerry Jones is oil money. Jerry Jones doesn't need to let anybody else into the club. In fact, saw the quotes yesterday where he said nobody can do an effing job better at whatever his quote was where he cursed a bunch. I got it wrong. He cursed a lot in a story with Clarence Hill. And he doesn't want to let anybody else in. He's got oil money, though. He's got other industry money. He doesn't need to let people in. You know who does, though? The Raiders.
Yes. I was just about to ask, which team do you think will be the first to take private equity money? It's definitely the Las Vegas Raiders.
I would go Raiders first, Bears second, maybe. The McCaskies don't have other money. The whole thing the McCaskies have is the Bears. And Virginia's idiot kids don't even care about the team. They're going to sell it the minute she croaks.
Jeez.
Did
not know that.
Oh, yeah. They probably... Honestly, there's a guy who's a minority. This is the whole side thing. I'll get through it quickly. They have a guy who's also like 80-something, who's a billionaire, who's a minority owner. The minute Virginia McCaskey dies, they're going to sell the rest of the team to him. Like, they want nothing to do with it.
So, Trevor...
How can you not be into sports?
Exactly.
I just don't get it. How can you not be into it?
Trevor in the YouTube live chat would like a brief explanation of private equity firms and what they do. Essentially, they are an investment management company, and they provide financial backing to a company, and they expect for their investment to be returned to them with interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is they buy in, and then they look to maximize the value of their investment. And that becomes the priority, not like a good fan experience or winning football teams. No, just maximizing the value of their investment. It's just like capitalism cranked up to 11.
It's short-term, a wave of money. A lot of money being pumped in. Long term,
if you've heard of venture capitalists, startup for startups,
mm-hmm.
private equity firms buy into like established businesses.
Yeah, it's a short term gain because you're getting this huge wave of invested money from these billion-dollar organizations, conglomerates, whatever. But long term, they want to get that back. They want to make money back from that. The two best examples I can come up with off the top of my head. Newspapers. If you're like, wow, my newspaper stinks. Why does my newspaper stink? Go thank Alden Global or one of the other like 4 companies that own all of America's major newspapers now. They gave them a bunch of money. It's like, wow, we can't sell ads anymore. Well, let's take money from them and that'll help us.
Yes, then but now we want to see a return on our investment. So your operating budget needs to be dramatically slashed. And that's why you don't have any local sports writers.
Yep. The other one, if you have any friends from the state of Texas, ask them what they think of Whataburger since they were bought by private equity. Every one of them will say it is markedly worse. Every one of them. I guarantee you. You know who owns Whataburger? A Texas and Oklahoma company originally. A firm out of Chicago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
if you go ask a friend of yours from the state of Texas or the state of Oklahoma, what do you think of Whataburger since they were bought? All of them will tell you it sucks now.
So that's the big NFL.
I still like it, though.
Yeah, I mean, that Patty
better than you can get most places.
Listen, I have not been to a Whataburger since they started advertising the Buffalo Ranch chicken sandwich, but that looks like it goes insane. I want one so bad. They advertise it during every Royals game. Sometimes they just walk around the house singing "Bun" like they do in the commercial.
I've been to Whataburger once, and that was one of the didn't Patrick Mahomes get it to KC?
Yes.
So it was one of his ventures out here. It was right by Dable Commerce Arena.
Yeah, Cable Dahmer.
Yeah. And I was not impressed with it. First time.
I'm telling impressed. You. I will say the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich never done me wrong.
I'm more of a In-N-Out guy, but I got West Coast roots, so that's where that comes from. Anyway, we still don't have a 53-man roster from the Chiefs.
No.
Most other teams have released an initial 53-man roster. We do not have that from the Chiefs. But
we do know a couple obvious ones are gone.
Yes. So in addition to the players cut yesterday, we know that the following players, based on reporting from various sources, either league sources or Chiefs sources, will not be on the 53-man roster. These names range from not surprising in the least to not surprising in the least. Like, I don't think any, like, maybe the most surprising name on this list is Justin Ross. I thought he'd had a really good camp. I thought maybe he had a chance to stick on the 53, but with the signing of Juju Smith-Schuster, I think that squeezed him out.
The clip of McCole Hardman desperately trying to tell him where to line up and him having no clue where he was going, I think that was the final straw. Like, dude, you're 3 preseasons in. You've got to know where to line up.
So
if you can't catch it, that's one thing. If you don't know where to line up, that you can't.
I think my most surprising was the fact that you cut Kelvin Joseph and an undrafted free agent corner makes the roster.
Yeah, so it sounds like Chris Roland Wallace is going to make the team.
Yeah.
And that's a name that if you watched the second half of every Chiefs preseason game, you heard a lot, which is both good and bad, right? It's bad because you're playing in the second half. You're on the fringes of the roster. But it's good if you hear your name a lot if you're making plays.
Mm-hmm.
And he made some plays, and I feel like he's maybe a Dave Tobe guy more so than he's anybody else. This feels like he's going to make it, and Deion Bush isn't as safety number 5. But undrafted free agent making the club is always a really cool story. Other players who did not make the team, we know Irv Smith Jr. has been cut. Aniko Remigio did not make it despite Dave Tobe pounding the table for him.
I'm sure he'll be on the practice squad.
Swayze Bozeman was a guy who got a chance at middle linebacker. He did not make the team, but a lot of people think he'll find the practice squad. Deneric Prince did not make the team. Looks like it's going to be 3 backs. It's going to be Pacheco and Clyde and Carson Steele.
Look, man, I understand the fascination with Prince. I know I have had some fascination with Deneric Prince over the last 2 off seasons, but in game situations, I won't say games, I will say game situations, which is essentially what the preseason is. If you're down to a 3rd running back and you're saying who has given us more, Carson Steele or Deneric Prince, it's not a discussion. It's Carson Steele, and it's Carson Steele by miles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, after watching this whole preseason and the 2 of them, I'd rather have Steele. I've told you I'd rather have Steele be my RB2.
I mean, I've told you guys what my point of view is on this running back room.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it all from CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't. He doesn't move the needle for me.
I get it. I totally get it. I'm sorry to cut you off. I totally get it, Spencer, because you are crashing against your ceiling with him.
Like I've not liked it. Like I started to like him. He was on my fantasy team 3 years ago, and then I drafted him the next year because I was like, he was a solid player.
Yeah, and it's only gotten worse.
And nothing. And I was like, come on. And I've not liked him since then.
I think the thing you're banking on with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is you know what you are getting.
Pass block.
You do.
Not even necessarily that. I just think a good locker room presence, somebody who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He can help you in the pass game.
You do not. You know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire on his own is not going to screw up a game for you. He might not be good enough to make plays, but he's not going to screw up the game for you.
You trust him.
Yeah,
Matt Nagy trusts him. Andy Reid trusts him. Patrick Mahomes trusts him.
And you don't know that you can get that with Deneric Prince. You might be able to, but you don't know. And you can't have a 53-man roster with like 20 guys who are all, they could hit the ceiling. They could also bottom out. You need a few guys you just know what you're getting.
I just wonder, there's been quite a few running backs cut around the league.
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if the Chiefs were in the market for, like, the Broncos released Samaje Perine. Do I think he's better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Absolutely.
And you want pass blocking? That's what you are getting. Samaje Perine in 2024 is a pass blocker.
That's a 3rd down back for sure. But he's available. But again, trust goes a long way. Trust goes a long way with this team because we saw what happened last year when the offense was full of skill guys that you couldn't trust. They only won 11 games, and the Super Bowl later on. But you get the idea. Like, trust is important. They really value that. 2 other guys that got cut today. Louis Reese-Zammit was waived. No injury designation, even though he didn't practice today or had been held out of practice with a back injury. Thought maybe they'd Phantom IR him like they did with Byron Pringle all those years ago when they were able to basically give him a red shirt year when he tweaked a hamstring in the final preseason game.
Hey, he made the Commanders 53.
Did he?
Still kicking around.
For now until they find another receiver.
K-State great.
I know. Having a nice career.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes made him some money.
Yes, he did.
So
him and Albert Wilson.
Louis Reese-Zammit, again, probably a practice squad guy. I'm sure the Chiefs would like to keep him around. Kadarius Toney was also cut today. That's to no one's surprise or no one's disappointment, but one clap for that punt return to Super Bowl, which made the trade worth it. I don't care what else happened in the Kadarius Toney era. He made a gigantic play in a Super Bowl that the Chiefs won.
2! He called touchdown!
Yes. Yeah. He also caught a touchdown. The go-ahead touchdown, if I remember right.
Yes. Did you see the contract situation with this?
No.
So he hasn't had 4 years of service time, so he is waived. If he's picked up, the other team will take his contract on. But if he doesn't, the Chiefs will have to pay $2.53 million.
guaranteed first-round pick money, and they were willing to say, we will eat this to get rid of it.
Patrick Mahomes might write that check himself.
He might.
If he had to. Chiefs also made 2 trades in the last 24 hours. They've acquired defensive end Cam Thomas from the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Thomas was a top 90 pick, a 3rd-round pick back in 2022.
87th overall.
3 career sacks, none last year. High effort, high motor kind of player, but hasn't really had any production. Still, it's a very Brett Veach kind of move, isn't it? To go and see if you can't find some production from a guy who was a top 100 player.
So a few things. One, the Cardinals I don't think they have an edge rusher. Like, I think this was the last one on the roster. I don't know that they're going to field one this year. I don't know why they made this move. Not only does he only have 3 sacks, none last year, he also only has 11 career pressures, according to Pro Football Reference, that's not even like with George Karlaftis, who had, 2 sacks his last year at Purdue, but led the Big Ten in pressures. And you said, okay, we're going to bank on that being real, the sacks being fake. And the Chiefs were right in that prediction. He hasn't even generated pressure. Now, if you're banking on it because he's got a good athletic profile, high motor guy, kind of in a Karlaftis mold in that sense, fine, I get it, whatever. Does that worry you about FAU?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'm already worried about FAU because he didn't really flash in the preseason,
Totally
and you would have liked to have seen him do more against second team and third team offensive tackles. Flip side, he's still the 4th youngest player on this defense,
which is nuts.
So I don't think he's a finished project yet, and I wonder. I have to imagine the Chiefs expected they get something out of him in 2024, but I'm still thinking that this is a young player who's got a high ceiling, and they just got to try to bring it out of him. So I'm not worried about him long term, but this doesn't surprise us because Matt Derrick told us they might be looking to add to that defensive end room, our Chiefs insider. The other move the Chiefs made, they cut Irv Smith. That had him down to 3 tight ends. They've traded a 7th-round conditional pick to Dallas for tight end Peyton Hendershot. And Hendershot out of Indiana, 2 seasons, 25 career games. Dallas was going to cut him. This is a special teams edition. Hendershot's played like 400 special team snaps the last 2 years. This feels like a special teams edition more so than anything that's going to impact what the offense does.
He had worse numbers in his 2 years in Dallas than I realized, because I feel like a couple of times I'd watched Cowboys games and they had pointed out that he was making a play. Nate Tice of Yahoo Football put out today that this is a more useful player. You use the word useful than you normally find on cut down day in a trade, unless you get lucky and find Charvarius Ward, right? I like this move. I think Peyton Hendershot right now is a more useful player to the Chiefs than Irv Smith. Irv Smith is the receiving. Irv Smith was about to be the 4th receiving tight end, not just 4th tight end, the 4th receiving tight end. Peyton Hendershot, if he plays on offense, is going to block. That is going to be his job. He's 6th offensive lineman, effectively, and he's going to play special teams, which
you needed a special teams presence on offense. If you weren't keeping 4 running backs, keep 4 tight ends. One of them had to be a special teamer.
And not only is it a conditional 7th, I assume that's snap count related, since he's going to make the team. It's a 2026. It's not even conditional for the next draft. It's 2 drafts away, a conditional pick. So I love that move for the Chiefs. I think that's savvy business right there.
Still don't have a 53-man roster from the Chiefs. We may not even have one before we go off the air. If we get one tomorrow, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show. That'll be a free segment for us, so we'd appreciate that. But we're going to take a break right now. Come back with What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain coming up a little bit later on here on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. What is wrong with you? Time on 580 Sports Talk. Our current weekly champion, roller coaster dad, left his 8, 4, and 2-year-old kids unattended so he could ride roller coasters at Cedar Point in Ohio. That's our current champion. We got 2 new stories today. My story takes us to Hillsborough County, Florida, where a 57-year-old man is being accused of barcode manipulation targeting Lowe's stores in Hillsborough County and Clearwater. 57-year-old Mark Brents was switching barcodes on items or scanning cheaper products to avoid paying full price at Lowe's. Deputies reported that this scheme allowed him to deceive Lowe's repeatedly and defraud Lowe's of over $4,500 in merchandise across 10 incidents.
Jeez.
So the operation was a covert one leading to his arrest. And according to officials on August 21st, he was apprehended after driving recklessly in a black Nissan Altima with an improper tag. At the time of his arrest, he was already on probation for felony fleeing to elude. He has been accused of an organized scheme to defraud less than $20,000, retail theft of $3,000 or more, and felony petty theft. Brent has been to jail 74 times since 1985. He's looking for the diamond anniversary arrest and in prison sentence.
That's more than Meat Suitcase Guy.
Yes.
That's more than the Meat Suitcase.
75 arrests.
That's a lot of arrests. That's 75 more than I would like.
So is he good at being a criminal or bad at being a criminal?
Maybe he just needs health care.
3 hots and a cop, baby.
All right, my story is also going to take us to Florida. We're going to Tampa. This woman's awful. I'm going to preface that. This woman is absolutely horrible. From a shelter, a handicapped dog. And then when the people doing the meet and greet said, we don't want to sell you, or we don't want you to adopt this dog, she pulled a gun on them. So we go to the Rags and Riches Animal Rescue Group in Tampa that says they were meeting with a potential owner interested in adopting a dog when she refused to give the dog back to them after holding it and then pulled a gun on the two. Dominique Amorosa and her mom run the animal rescue and were doing a meet and greet for their 2-year-old pug, Bluey. It's the first step in a dog adoption. They want to see if the dog will take to the owner and if they're a good fit. They realized quickly it wasn't, and Amorosa said the woman didn't take it well. Quote, she put the gun to the back of my head, made me crouch, and then moved it to my temple. That's where she cut me. I don't know what it was on her gun that did it. Bluey, the dog, uses a wheelchair. It needs special care. It was hit by a car. Very sad. They explained that to the woman and said it wouldn't be a good fit for her since she already had several other dogs with her. The woman then refused to give the dog back, elbowed Amorosa's mother as she tried to grab it. That's when the other woman started screaming a bunch, hoping someone would help, and a neighbor did come out and help call 911. That's when Amorosa says she threatened to let the woman's other dogs go if she didn't give back Bluey. She was like, I'm going to let these dogs run free if you don't give back mine. That's when she says the woman threw the handicapped dog back to the mother.
No.
Just moments later, Amorosa shot a 3-second video trying to get the woman's license plate. It cuts off right as she comes around to the car with what appears to be a gun in a holster. Next thing I knew, quote, I hear her cocking a gun. Nobody was around her. She went in her car and got it. Then in the span of 3 to 4 seconds, I had the gun to the back of my head, then to my temple. That's when the woman left, but police quickly did track her down. Amorosa said, quote, this is a very scary person, not a safe person for the community. I hope they do their jobs in charging her.
Poor Bluey.
She has not actually been arrested for anything at this point, but they did take her gun into evidence, and they are continuing to investigate.
I just hope they find a good home for Bluey.
Yeah, someone out there is going to give Bluey a good home.
Yeah.
I'm certain of that. Not this lunatic, though.
No, I think the dog adoption gone wrong is objectively the worst story today, but I don't want to think about this woman anymore.
Fair.
I think roller coaster dad should survive. We good with that?
Fine with me.
I don't know. 75 times in jail.
That is a lot, but would that have beaten roller coaster dad?
No.
Okay. Roller coaster dad it is. Moving on to tomorrow on What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio.
It's this simple. Plan ahead head to designate a sober driver, hop on Safe Ride, or use your favorite rideshare app. Together, Fans with a Plan can prevent serious injuries and fatalities caused by impaired drivers. Remember, in Kansas, you drink, you drive, you lose.
Bentley, get away from that Guinness. This is Tim Hirsch from Cruise Holidays and Tours at Topeka, taking a group trip to Ireland in August of 2025. You can even extend your trip and see the K-State Farmageddon game against Iowa State in the beautiful Dublin Soccer Stadium. Globus is doing a preview of this Ireland adventure August 27th at 5:30. Call Cruise Holidays and Tours of Topeka to reserve your spot.
Cruise Holidays and Tours.
Kids playing in lawn sprinklers. That's fun. Fire sprinklers. That's serious business. You seldom think about the fire sprinkler system in your commercial building, but Keller Fire and Safety thinks about sprinklers every workday. Inspecting, testing, maintaining, repairing, ensuring that they'll work properly to protect people and property in case of a fire. Call Keller.
Keeping the fire marshal happy since 1950. Keller Fire and Safety. KellerFire.com.
Get everything for your next project at Menards and save big money. Enjoy a good night's sleep for less with a new Serta mattress. Shop today and save big. The better the mattress, the better the savings. Find the perfect mattress that fits your size and firmness needs at Menards. America's #1 home improvement retailer for customer satisfaction, according to J.D. Power. Visit jdpower.com for details and menards.com for deals.
Save big money at Menards.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a serious heart condition. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. My HCM impacted how I felt and what I could do. So I asked my cardiologist about treatment advances that gave me new options. That conversation was big for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com to learn more.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb. Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments
Welcome to Flight 101.
to annual girls trip moments, your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Together, Fans with a Plan are helping prevent crashes and serious injury caused by impaired drivers. Do your part. Use Safe Ride to schedule your trip on your favorite rideshare app or designate a sober driver.
WIPW, Topeka.
I can't imagine there being any place that's better to coach or play at than the University of Kansas.
The goal is to win championships. Pure and simple. One day at a time. That's what made a difference today in the game.
That's fine. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
What a scene in Lawrence, Kansas tonight.
What a scene it will be in Kansas City, Kansas on Thursday night as the Kansas Jayhawks open the 2024 season against the Lions of Lindenwood. Here to preview that, talk all things Jayhawks is Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline at this time every Tuesday. You can follow him on Twitter at mswain247. Michael, you ready for some football?
I am very much ready. It's been one of like the fastest off seasons because it has really flown by. I think just the calendar these days makes it like that, but also I feel like the last 3 weeks since like the first couple days of camp, right? It's like back to school vibes. Everyone's excited, and then it kind of steadies out, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, I've heard a lot of the same stuff. Let's get to some games where there's new stuff every week. So I'm fired up. I really can't wait for Thursday night.
I was listening to Lance Leipold and his press conference on Monday, and I loved his answer. It was being asked about how things are different now and what's different about his team now going into year 4 as they prepare for the start of the season and prepare for the game. And in part, he answered, we just move different. We move different. We play different. We prepare different. And everything has changed for this program in these 4 years. Being around it, getting to see how the players interact, the coaches interact, getting to see some of practice. What stands out to you as maybe the biggest difference for this Jayhawk team entering a season in the top 25 compared to maybe even what you saw last year or the year before?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. I always look at the trenches, right? Because for football, that is one of the most important things, right? Can you handle yourself on the line of scrimmage? And, we've seen good KU team or bad KU teams, have good players in the trenches, as in like one or two, right? You had a Daniel Wise and a Dorrance Armstrong together. You had someone like Azur Kamara at one point. You look at the offensive line, Hakeem Adeniji, but top to bottom, those lines just have never had the bodies, whether it be starters or just depth, to be able to play at a high level. And I look at this KU team and I look at the way KU has changed since 2021 season. Well, now you can look up and down those lines of scrimmage and see multiple players that could be all Big 12. And then you look at the depth and you look at multiple players that I think KU coaches would feel okay with starting games. And I think that is just the biggest place where you've seen stuff change. Obviously, guys have gotten better. Luke Grimm, Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner, they all are all better football players right now than they were at the start of the 2021 season. And that goes down to development and the job the staff and the players have done to work on that. But I think, Lance Leipold used the kind of the analogy that KU is probably 0-12 in terms of the eyeball test, right? Watch guys walk off the bus, watch guys walk around pregame before they put the pads on. Not super impressive back in 2021, where now you walk around practice, you see the days that they are just in shorts and the spider pads where it's not even full shoulder pads. You just see guys that look a lot different. And so I think that really is the biggest change you've seen, when a lot of the faces are still around from that 2021 season, but they look a lot different. And that's a credit to the players for putting in the work and the people like, Matt Gildersleeve and Katie O'Connor, who is the new nutritionist that the KU has. And all these people come together to make this big program changing moves that have taken a lot of time and a lot of work behind the scenes.
Leipold spoke glowingly about, and you earlier today tweeted glowingly about, linebacker Cornell Wheeler, who's earned a starting spot and a captaincy on this football team this year. What do you expect his on-field impact to be in 2024?
Yeah, well, obviously, so he's going to start at Mike linebacker, and I think he has the ability to, offer KU. He's not going to have as much experience as Rich Miller, right? He's not been in the scheme for 4 years. He's not played, 2,000 plus snaps, but I think athletically, he offers more. I think in terms of natural football feel, if you watched him last year, you could see that he just has that kind of it factor with it. And, the reason I love Cornell's story is because it's kind of the antithesis of college football these days, right? Guy transfers out of Michigan to Kansas, probably thinking, hey, it's Kansas. I'm going to walk in, I'll be able to start, I'll play a lot, it'll be great for me. And you've seen that happen, right? I can think of a couple other transfers that transferred in after Leipold's first year, and then they were there for a year and transferred out because it wasn't good for them. Well, Cornell Wheeler stayed the course, right? First 2 years was kind of a special teams guy, and that was kind of it. And then last year, he really had things start to go his way. The development started to happen, right? And he was a backup linebacker and still not playing a ton, right? Rich Miller played a lot of snaps last year, and yet Cornell Wheeler didn't look to leave, didn't complain. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a guy that has developed, and his teammates recognize the work and the leadership that he has shown and how he is an example. And they voted him as the only team captain on defense, right? It's just pretty cool when you think about it, because I think this day and age, you see a lot of people take shortcuts. They want to get out if it's not going their way. And I think it's a huge credit to Cornell and who he is as a person, that he was willing to stay through it and wait his time and really compete to try and get better so that when this season comes, he's ready for it.
We're chatting with Michael Swain, who covers the Kansas Jayhawks over at Fog.net, which itself is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Go be a VIP. That's the best way to get all the best inside scoops on what's going on with KU football, basketball, and recruiting. You can find Michael as well on Twitter at mswain247, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Speaking of the linebacker group, Michael, I think they're going to be more athletic this year. I think you've written something similar as well over at Fog.net. It should be a more athletic group overall. Does that mean it's going to be a better group? And if the answer is yes, will part of that be because they're using guys in a more proper way defensively? I'm specifically thinking about Craig Young, who I loved as a player and was a great athlete and a really good football player, but also probably shouldn't be covering slot receivers.
So you're thinking back to 2022 then?
Yes.
Because and that's the thing, right? And I know, you're over on the VIP board, Brendan, you see the conversations we're having. Yeah. There's a lot. I could probably talk about the linebackers for like an hour here. So let's see if I can do the TLDR. So the first part, yes, they will be more athletic. I think you look at someone like J.B. Brown last year, right? You saw the athleticism, you saw the physicality, the forced fumbles, all the things he brought. But what you also saw were missed tackles because he was a step away from where he should have been. And the word on him coming out of camp has been that he understands where he needs to be, right? He's got that feel of where to be. And he's got the athleticism then to, if he's in the right spot, make a play. Because I think you think back 2 years ago in the linebackers KU had, they were stiff. And if they weren't in the perfect spot to tackle someone or make a play, it wasn't happening. And now you look at guys like Cornell and JB and even someone like Jason Gilliam. Well, those guys have the athleticism to be able to go and make a play. Even if it's a 50-50 chance, right? They have the opportunity and the athletic ability to go and make that play. Now, for using people in different packages, KU's going to do a little bit more of like a traditional look where, and by traditional, I don't mean like KU's just going to line up and just, rush for and blitz. No, I mean like they're going to have their base package, which is a 4-3. When that happens, Jason Gilliam will be on the field as kind of your strong side linebacker playing in space. And then maybe a second down, you'll see Marvin Grant move forward to play the Cinco spot, which is where Craig Young played a lot of last year. And then, Marvin will play that spot for a minute, and then one of the Dye brothers will go to safety. And then maybe on third down, Marvin goes back to safety, and they bring in a cornerback to play nickel. And so I think there's going to be a little bit more substituting that happens rather than you think back to 2022 when Craig Young played over 80% of KU's defensive snaps because they just didn't have any options. Right, he was the only guy that could do some of those roles, and so we had to play a lot. And then last year, his snaps dropped down to 60% because Jason Gilliam was able to play some of that hawk role. Kalen Gervin played some nickel, and so this year I think it's going to be a little bit closer to that, where I think you're going to see Marvin Grant play a lot at that Cinco spot. You'll see a lot of what will appear as three safety looks, to fans watching, because three safeties will be out there technically, but Marvin will play as more of a hybrid spot. So I think overall, like this linebacker core has the ability to be more athletic. I think they can make more plays on a consistent basis because of that athleticism. And then you've got guys that have been in the scheme for long enough now where they understand where to be. And I think that's just a huge part. So I think the linebacker room, overall, I think should be improved, even if there aren't a bunch of new faces there to compete.
You're not getting a linebacker breakdown like that on any other radio show about any other team anywhere in America, by the way. I'm guaranteeing that. And I'm not just typing up Michael because he's our friend. No, that I'm being 100% serious. On the offensive side of the ball, Michael, I don't feel like we need to break down a ton for Lindenwood because KU is going to turn them inside out like a worn sock. So long-term for this team, wide receiver room, Grimm, Skinner, Arnold, top three. I think it might be the best wide receiver room, all things considered, in the Big 12. Who is the biggest year of the three?
Ooh, I love Lawrence Arnold. I just think he is Mr. Consistent.
And what a great story, too.
Yeah, and I think you look at what he has done, and Luke being from Kansas City has his own story, and Quentin being the former walk-on who, when you watch him play, you wonder, man, how was this guy a walk-on, right? He's fast, he's tall, he's long, can make spectacular catches, but then you look at Lawrence, and he's just kind of been consistent throughout his career. Is he going to have 1,000 yards receiving this year? No. But I think he's someone that every week you know what you're getting out of Lawrence Arnold. And I think he's the type of guy that it doesn't matter what the matchups are, who is covering him. He's going to be able to get you 4 to 5 catches a game and should consistently get you about 75 plus yards. And there's going to be an occasional game where he goes for 115. But I think he's a guy that just because he is so consistent week in and week out, that will allow him to then have the type of season that makes you the leading receiver on a team.
Running back wise, Devin Neal, is he just going to own all the KU records by the time this season is done? And if so, and I think the answer is yes for what it's worth, how much distance is he going to put between himself and all the other greats?
Ooh, well, man, I sure hope so. You look at the all-time rushing yard leading leaderboard. I think he's got 600 or 700 to go. I should have that number in front of me. I know.
I think it's about 870, if I remember correctly.
Really? Wow. Okay, that's more than I was remembering. He should rush for 1,000 yards this year, and I think probably more than that. And so I think for him, like all-time rushing yard leader, like I think he's going to get it. I don't know if anyone's ever going to break it because this day and age, with the way football is going, running backs who are as good as Devin Neal leave after last year. But Devin, being from Lawrence, caring about the KU program the way he does, he comes back. And I think you look at I think it's rushing touchdown. He needs, I think, over a dozen maybe to be the all-time leader there. I think you look at a lot of these records. Devin being the special player and special human has put him in a position here where I think you really can rewrite a lot of these records. And I'm not really sure if a lot of them are going to get touched just because the way the position that he plays is going. And I don't think there are going to be very many special people like Devin that come that are willing to put an NFL career on hold to go back and be a part of their hometown program.
Last thing for Michael Swain, who's the KU beat writer for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, give us the sliding scale, the low end and the high end for regular season wins for Kansas this year as they prepare to kick off Thursday night.
So is Jalen playing in all the games?
That may affect.
Speak into existence.
Yes, let's go ahead and say that we are more often than not seeing Jalen Daniels play quarterback for KU.
Okay, so if Jalen is healthy all year, I think the low end probably 8-4 because you look at, I think there's probably a couple coin flip games, right? I look at West Virginia, K-State, Iowa State, and then it kind of depends on who you talk to. Some people may say Baylor, some people may say BYU. You got 4 coin flip games. Illinois should be in there as a coin flip game. So those are the 4 that I'm thinking of. And if KU loses all 4, I still think there are 8 wins there for KU. And I think realistically, I could talk you into 11-1, and it could happen. But the Big 12, I'm not sure if it's going to be that. I don't know if chalk is the right word, but that's straightforward. I think the conference can be pretty crazy this year. So I think my pick right now is 10-2. I think that's kind of in the middle of that sliding scale, but I think 8-4 to 11-1 feels realistic if Jalen Daniels is KU's quarterback for 12 games.
Michael Swain covers the Jayhawks like no one else at Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Follow him on Twitter at mswain247. Hear him every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, a pleasure. I'll see you at Children's Mercy Park on Thursday night.
Let's go. Can't wait.
Can't wait. We'll see you then. That is Michael Swain. One final break. We're going to wrap up with a walk-off next here on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up, walking off with the final word. That's what this segment's called on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, start us off.
Will the Chiefs put out their darn roster? Will I get home before they put out their roster? Will I go to sleep before they put out their roster? Will we have another show before they put out their final roster?
We'll talk about it
Who
tomorrow.
knows?
Maybe we'll have one by tomorrow. We'll talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
If they honestly did, I'd be impressed. At that point, like I can't even be mad. That's just impressive. Final word for me today, also pertaining to the Chiefs. Look, man, I think Kadarius Toney was a win for the Chiefs because he made 2 gigantic plays in a Super Bowl that they ended up winning. But also, I respect Brett Veach for being willing to say this dude can't play in the NFL. Anytime it looks like there's some momentum, he gets hurt, and we don't see a whole lot of those momentum moments either. So move on, cut bait. Just because you won 2 straight does not mean you shouldn't try to make this roster as good as possible this year as well. And at least from what we know so far, they're taking the right steps.
My final word, I'll just reiterate what I said at the top of the show. Maybe Royals fans, you're too scared to say it with your whole chest and your whole heart at the risk it might get broken, but I will say it if you won't. The Royals are going to play in the postseason. The Royals are going to the American League playoffs, and the focus now turns from Boston, who's fading, to catching Cleveland and winning the Central Division. Royals baseball coming up next. We'll be with you after Royals baseball tomorrow. For Brendan, for Spencer, I'm Dan. See ya.